Now, Archbishop Emeritus Desmond Tutu has also become known for his strong advocacy on issues of sexuality, especially LGBTQI plus rights and same-sex marriage. He was one of the most prominent religious leaders to advocate for these rights. His very public stance on LGBTQI plus rights put him at odds with many in South Africa and across the continent, as well as within the Anglican Church. Keval Harie is the director of Gala's Queer Archive, and he joins us now to reflect on this legacy. A very good evening to you, and thank you very much for joining us. At one point, the Arch said that more perniciously, more ghastly is the fact that people are penalized, killed, all sorts of ghastly things happen to them simply solely on the basis of their sexual orientation. What is your understanding or appreciation of his contribution to this community?
Good evening, and thank you to your listeners. My condolences to the Tutu family and to South Africans more broadly. I think the loss of the Arch, Tata Tutu, is particularly felt by the LGBTQIA plus community because he used his moral leadership to speak for justice and to speak against discrimination and prejudice for the LGBTQIA plus community, and also ensured that, particularly at a time that was very critical in our country's history, that the emancipation and the freedom of the LGBTQIA plus community was not forgotten, and that was continued in his advocacy throughout his life.
And this advocacy drew some unwelcome attention. An Anglican bishop, Emmanuel Chukwuma from Nigeria, declaring him spiritually dead, but this did not deter him.
No, it didn't. And I think what's really important is that Tata Tutu used his own convictions in understanding what his creator stood for, which was and embracing particularly members within the LGBTQI plus community back into the church to say that they were children of God, which is such an important and powerful message. But I think particularly what was really powerful about his legacy was that he was able to hold a critical mirror to those within his clergy, or his fellow colleagues, to say that when you do not speak out against the discrimination and violence that queer people face all across the continent, you are not speaking with the moral conviction and with the kindness and peace and prosperity which all religious faiths essentially propose and have as kind of founding basis for religion. And so he was really able to speak with such moral conviction in a way that re-understood what the scriptures are really saying in terms of kindness and peace and love.
Let's expand on what it is that the scriptures say, right? So what would your observation be on modern day church in relation rather to the LGBTQI plus community?
Thank you so much for asking this question. I think it's such an important question that we all as South Africans need to grapple with. In a country where in 2021 we've had over 20 hate crimes, the loss of Desmond Tutu is felt particularly because he was able to use his moral leadership and to say to members of his clergy that they should not use their pulpits to spread hate and violence and discrimination. I think also as a parent and as an important ally, he was able to speak to parents, particularly his parents who are struggling with the coming out of their children, to say that if we are all children in the eyes of God, then as parents we should not throw our children out. We should not leave them out into the cold, but we should embrace them even if they are different. And that is such an important message that is particularly needed now when we face such high levels of violence and discrimination, particularly against the most vulnerable in our community, particularly against the trans community and sex worker communities.
Keval Harie, thank you very much for your reflections. He's the director of Gala Queer Archive.